IVM.
Hi everybody, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Fighting Goat. My name is Arjun Chipalkatti, aka Mystic Chips, and I'm joined by my buddy Somesh the Superhuman Kamra, and we bring to you episode 2 of The Fighting Goat. If you haven't seen it yet, check out episode 1. It aired last week only on the IVM Podcast Network. Guys, we are back. Somesh, brother, how's it going? We had a great Sunday yesterday. Tons of fights took place this week. It's been crazy.
Well, it's absolutely fantastic. In fact, what a week it has been. Episode 2, and we start off with UFC 259. In fact, Arjun, if you see all the promos of UFC 259, it starts off with Peter Yan versus Sterling and moves upwards. The audience have absolutely forgotten that the main card started off with a dynamic fight between Thiago Santos and Alexander Rakic.
Alright, man, that all those fights were absolute fire, which is why we would like to present to you, drum roll, the MMA week that was. We're going to decide, we're going to talk about all the fights that took place in this entire week. We're going to talk about all the fights that took place in general. Like, I think I saw one dog fighting outside also. So we're going to talk about that in much more detail as we get ready. But yeah, let's start off with Somesh. Let's going to start. I want you to kick us off with UFC 259. Last night we were in the studio. We were doing the Ultimate Guide to the UFC, which we do with Sony, and we had a great show. We had a great response. The fans went crazy for the card. So let's get us started. Tell us what happened in that fight, in that first.
Man, what a banger of a main card, Arjun. It started off with Alexander Rakic versus Thiago Santos from the American top team. And in fact, there were a lot of people from India who were calling Rakic, Rakesh.
Yeah, I was just going to say they made it Santosh versus Rakesh.
Yeah, and Santos became Santosh. So eventually, the joke that was roaming around was Santosh versus Rakesh in the light heavyweight division, which is 205 pounds. And what a promo and what a build-up. It was more of both of them, unfortunately, knocking off Jimmy Manuwa, and that was a highlight reel for both of them. But the fight didn't live up to the expectation. It went the distance. Alexander Rakic got the decision, but not a very good start for a good pay-per-view, Arjun.
No, see, the thing is now, we discussed this, we always say this, sometimes when you have two guys who are absolute dynamite, sometimes the bomb doesn't go off.
Absolutely.
Just like you've said in the past. And I think that's what happened because both these guys knew they were so highly skilled, they were so evenly matched up that they were both hesitant to pull the trigger because they know they can knock each other out very quickly as well. Because both these guys have incredible stopping power. And especially Santos, who's taken on John Jones. But I think the surgeries are wearing on him though now. I think, when you have two torn out knees and you repair them and you take like a year and a half off, it's going to show. It's going to you're never going to be the same again.
Very true. Very true. And in fact, coming on to the next fight, which
brother, it was Drew Dober taking on Islam Makhachev. And Islam Makhachev, if you guys don't know him, they call him Khabib 2.0 because he is literally the prodigy of Khabib Nurmagomedov. When it comes to wrestling and grappling, he is one of the top prospects in that lightweight division.
Very true. But Arjun, do you think Islam Makhachev lived up to the hype of Khabib, and especially when Khabib was in his corner?
No, see, the thing is, look, dude, you can't compare the two. It's like comparing, Sachin Tendulkar to Sehwag or anybody, they're two different people. Yes, he's trying to mirror it, but there will always be only one Khabib. There will always be one Khabib.
Well, it's very unfair because a lot of people compare Arjun Tendulkar to Sachin Tendulkar. People compare Rohan Gavaskar to his father, Sunil Gavaskar.
Correct.
But sometimes the shoes are little too big to fit into. And there's just there's way too much pressure on that fighter to actually perform and finish the way his prodigy actually does. But honestly, props to Islam Makhachev. He absolutely dominated his opponent, Drew Dober. Drew Dober came in smiling, but didn't go back smiling. He was,
It's a good way to put
it. He was arm triangled. It was a very innovative technique where he didn't really choke him out, but he actually squeezed his Adam's apple. So it's termed as an arm triangle, but it was like a
because it was in that neighborhood.
Yeah, it was
It
like
was-
a one flew arm triangle kind of situation.
So it's funny. So an arm triangle is where you pin an opponent's own arm against his neck and you squeeze
Yes.
from the other side, constricting the breathing while you apply pressure on that side. And you turn around and you tighten it. And this is the thing is that guy is so bloody strong. Yeah? He didn't need to
very
go to the other
strong.
side. He just pivoted his shoulder in and choked him out. And Drew Dober, I mean, look, it's, you're not going to compete with that kind of grappling very easily. You have to be special to be able to compete with that kind of grappling.
You have to be
And,
world class for that.
Super duper. And, dude, but these guys make Division A wrestlers look like children.
Right.
That's no tall order. But I'll tell you what, moving on now. Now we hit the entire title fight segment. We've got 3 title fights coming up. But first off, we're going to hit in the bantamweight division, the champ, Peter Yan, took on the number 1 contender, Aljamain Sterling. Now, the fight was going on very well. To give you the result, Aljamain Sterling won, but it was not a win. It was a disqualification due to an illegal knee that was thrown by his opponent. So in that case, if the fighter cannot continue, the belt goes to the winner. And that was actually something that we learned about as well, because I disagree with that. I mean, you take away 2 points, you take away 3 points, but you don't, forgive me for saying this, and I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for it, but that is the definition of a paper champ.
Yes. In fact, it was a disqualification, an illegal knee that Peter Yan landed on Aljamain Sterling in round 4 at 4.5 minutes. In fact, Arjun, a lot of people, including Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, Henry Cejudo, actually disagreed with that because Aljamain Sterling was sitting in that squatted position. He was on his knees for about
Exactly.
12 seconds.
12 seconds. That's
Doing nothing and waiting for Peter Yan to make a mistake. He was, it was almost like luring him in to do something illegal. Do you think that was a fair decision? I mean, see, I'm not contesting the disqualification. I'm saying the fact. No, I'm saying the fact that, okay, it was an illegal knee, but does the belt have to change hands?
No, this is what I find complete. This is what I say, to paraphrase Khabib, this is number 1 bullshit. And I will say that for this all the time. Because look, man, it's like everybody was so dumbfounded by this incident. It's because Aljamain Sterling, before this fight, was this budding challenger who had been on a winning streak, who had a lot of fan support. And he's literally gone from lovable budding challenger to public enemy number 1 because of his antics. Look, in football, there is something called diving. And, it's over-exaggerating an injury. And
right.
I'm not saying he's over-exaggerating anything, because that would be arrogant and rude of me to say so. But that being said, it's such a weird situation because the whole world felt that way. It's not just us. I think everybody, from the fighters to fans alike, he needs to do something about it quickly because he's taking a lot of flack. I think if I was Aljamain Sterling, stay off the internet for a couple of weeks.
Well, in fact, let me remind the viewers that there was a similar situation between Jorge Rivera, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Jorge Rivera.
Jorge Rivera versus Michael Bisping, where Jorge Rivera got illegally kneed on the face by Michael Bisping, but he came back and he said, I want to continue to fight. I will not accept the disqualification. And if you can just remind me, was that for the title fight, Arjun?
No. It was Michael Bisping's way up. And it was Jorge Rivera's chance to take on a very big contender.
Okay.
But what I found in that fight was, sometimes illegal knees happen. Sometimes intentional knees happen. But I think it's what you do from that position, because Jorge Rivera was losing that fight anyway. Right. He could have copped out and said, no, I don't want to fight. He could, and Bisping would have gotten disqualified. But the fact that he took the 5-6 minutes, the referee probably gave him a little extra because, that's the thing when, fighters want to fight. And the doctor even went against it. But that was that. This is what Sumesh and I keep talking about. It's that old school mentality, that pride mentality. But these guys just were like ready to give everything and anything.
So what you're trying to say is that the old school Jorge Rivera kind of fighters want to fight. They don't really care about winning, losing. That comes secondary. The first thing is to come there and put up a show for the fans and fight.
Correct. And that's what you remember the Pride days for the, like in football where you get red carded and yellow carded. There was a card system used for inactivity. So if they saw a fighter, like for example, if Aljamain Sterling did that stuff in Pride, firstly, he would have been soccer kicked to the face 10 times by that point. But if he had pulled that shit, he would have gotten yellow carded at least.
Well, Arjun, I got a lot of messages on my Instagram and on my phone where people noticed the fact that when Michael Bisping kneed Jorge Rivera, it was
Right.
a matter of a split second. So he went down on his knee and Michael Bisping kneed him on his face. But in this particular situation, if you noticed, Aljamain Sterling was there like a sitting duck for almost 12 seconds. Peter Yan was waiting to see as to how he can strike him. And was it more of instinct or gut instinct that went in Peter Yan and he gave him the knee? Or was it intentional? What do you feel about that?
See, the thing is, I don't think anybody does it intentionally ever. You don't intentionally break rules. It happens, it happens. Like I break signals all the time. I mean, do I do it intentionally? Yeah, sometimes. If it's like 2 in the morning, then definitely it's fully intentional. But the thing is that when you're fighting in
Mumbai-
the cage,
मुंबई पुलिस को प्लीज टैग करो ये एपिसोड में.
नहीं यार प्लीज मत मार यार please. मेरे को ऑलरेडी लोग बहुत मारने को तैयार है. ये फरहाद भी जाके, I mean we're going to be interviewing Mohammad Farhad today, and I'm pretty sure he'll want to hit me as well.
I am so excited, ladies and gentlemen. In the next segment, we have India's rising star, Mohammad Farhad coming in. So stay tuned. But before that, let us continue the conversation between Aljamain Sterling and Peter Yan and the very unfortunate disqualification.
No, but the thing is that it's been done to death now. We've been talking about it. It's been happening. It's been 24 hours since the entire incident, and it's more than anybody. I think his fans will never let him forget it. But I'll say one thing, Peter Yan. I think whatever it was, his wrong instructions from his corner. This is going to be the costliest mistake he's ever made. Costliest mistake, because he's now lost his belt. But it will be a travesty if they don't give him a title shot immediately, because he was winning 4 rounds out of 5.
Clearly, he was winning 4 rounds. So that is what we think on the Fighting Goat, exclusively produced by IVM Podcast.
And guys,
Arjun,
if you don't agree with us, feel free to hit us up on the IBM Podcast handle, on our Instagram and social media handles, which we will give you at the end of the show. So stay tuned. But Somesh, please do continue with now the women's featherweight division. Oh my God. You saw that fight? That was just...
the women's featherweight division, where we had the 2-division champion Amanda the Lioness Nunes take on the Australian Megan Anderson. Arjun, was it satisfying that both of us got this right? especially because of the prize and the winning, because of the prize that we get, exclusively sponsored by IVM Podcast.
To quote Nick Diaz, "Where you at, Cyrus? Where you at, Cyrus?"
Ladies and gentlemen, if Arjun and me get our guesses correct, we have been promised that we can punch Cyrus Brocha in his arm.
Arm or anywhere else. He won't feel it in the arm. Have you seen him? He's become ridiculously ripped.
You know what? In fact, Cyrus Brocha at 49 has never looked this fit and this good. I mean, I'm actually, he's actually looking younger. He's looking younger.
Is.
I mean,
he's looking younger. He's looking so fit. It's unbelievable.
It's crazy. So you know what? Instead of punching him, let us just leg kick him.
Leg kick is better. Or better, you know what? We should take bodybuilding tips from him, because clearly he has something to teach us.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes. Now, coming back to the fight, Amanda Nunes versus Megan Anderson. She was absolutely not. I mean, she was not even in the fight. Like, to be honest, she was not even in the fight. It was such a beautiful arm. She was. It was.
I know. Somesh, we're all at a loss for words. It is the fact that Megan Anderson took the fight was a big deal.
Was it an arm bar? Was it a triangle? What was it?
Dude, it was a modification. So when she got her down, she was in mount, she turned around and she put on a triangle. Triangle is where you cross over your legs in an attempt to choke out your opponent from the bottom. It's traditionally done from the bottom position, where you're on your back and you cross your knees, your right leg or your left leg goes across the head and locks underneath the knee. And you hold the arm, you trap the arm, and that's how you squeeze the person.
In fact,
the air out of them.
That is such a beautiful description. That's such a beautiful description, because a triangle choke is very difficult to explain via words. You need to see what it is.
It's very hard.
Please go to YouTube and type triangle choke and see the various forms of triangle chokes. There are reverse triangle chokes from the bottom, from the top.
Or just wait a couple of weeks. We're going to be putting up a great video of us doing some techniques, especially sparring and jiu-jitsu. So stay tuned. You might see something there as well. You might stay tuned to see me getting choked out. I think that's what a lot of fans want to see anyway. Moving on. But you know what the thing is that Megan Anderson, I think that fight was over with that first punch that Amanda threw. That right hand that she clocked her with. I mean, it was hard to watch from that point.
But Arjun, see, it has been a history that people underestimate the power of a very lean bantamweight 135-pound fighter. When she moves up to 145, there's not too much, physical appearance is not very different. Amanda Nunes is pretty much the same at bantam and at featherweight appearance wise, but each and every fighter that she has faced has a different expression on their face when she lands the first right. And here with Megan Anderson, it was very, very clear. The first punch she took, her eyes lit up, and she had that little school kid kind of, look in those eyes. We knew it was done. We knew it was done right there.
It was a great clinical performance, and Amanda, congratulations. What a, we talked, a lot of people, discussed after this that 145 division, which doesn't have too many contenders, so should it be shut down, etc. But it's not Amanda's fault that nobody wants to fight her. It's not her fault. There is just no people stepping up. So props to Megan Anderson, man. She stepped up to fight somebody who a lot of people didn't want to fight. Even experienced kickboxers like Jermaine de Randamie, who was, I think, Somesh, correct me if I'm wrong, she was stripped of the belt because she said no, right?
She was. In fact, let me remind our listeners out here that a GDR, Jermaine de Randamie, was offered a fight versus Amanda Nunes, and she declined to defend her belt versus Amanda Nunes, and hence she was stripped off the belt.
Shit, who can blame her, man? I mean, come on. It's like, okay, come on. Like tomorrow, would you step up to face Francis Ngannou for the belt?
No.
Never. I don't care. Mujhe nahi chahiye belt. I'm good. I will always be number one contender. It's cool. I'll be the gatekeeper of the number one contender area.
So that was absolutely fantastic, because the first fight, Aljamain Sterling versus Peter Yan, Somesh Kamra, got it wrong. Arjun Chipalkatti won this round. Amanda Nunes, we both agreed on it, and in fact, we predicted that before round 2 it's going to end because Amanda wants to go to her daughter. And let's go on to the
she was on a train. Huh? She literally, it looked like she wanted to leave. She was like, okay, chalo, ho gaya, give me my baby.
Yeah.
Before she entered the cage, she was holding the baby. She gave the baby to her partner, went inside, kicked her ass, came out, give me my baby.
Yeah. And let us move on to the main event of the evening, the super fight between the 185 middleweight champion Israel Adesanya moving up a weight category and taking on the light heavyweight champion Jan Blachowicz. How was that?
Oh man, it's guys, sometimes I've been a commentator for many years. Somesh has been an analyst. We've talked about fights, but there are some fights that sometimes, there are no words that I can explain. The kind of war that went down between these two men. It was just one of those things where we were sitting on the edge of our seats. My heart was beating fast because of, it felt like that pin was about to drop any time, because we knew Jan Blachowicz can turn anybody's lights off with one shot. And we knew that Israel Adesanya is a special person. He's a special fighter. And anything can happen with him. And he's so explosive and dynamic. And that matchup was so intriguing to begin with. But I think one thing was proven at the end of that fight is that weight classes exist for a reason. And when you move up in weight, you have to be ready. It's not going to be just moving up in weight. You got to move up. You got to plan for it. You got to build up a body for it. Like how John Jones is doing. He's been planning for 2 years to move to heavyweight. And you look at him now. Now he's a genuine heavyweight.
Absolutely, yes. In fact, that's a very, very valid point, because Jan Blachowicz may be walking around at about maybe 240 pounds. He must be coming down to 205. And on fight day, he may be about 225 pounds. Israel Adesanya, on the other hand, may be walking at, I don't know, maybe about 205. He comes down to 185. And for this fight, he was 205 pounds. So he was pretty much at his walking weight. He thought he would run over Jan. But man, once it went to the ground, Arjun, it changed completely. The fight changed completely from round 4 and round 5.
It was. And when we saw the judges' scorecards, though, which was complete bullshit in my opinion. What is 49-45, 49-46? Guys, firstly, all fights are scored on a 10-point scoring system. So so the fighter can either get 10 or 9 depending on his position. Sorry, 9 or 8 depending on his position.
9 or
in the
less,
fight.
basically.
9 or less, exactly. 9 or less depending on the position. So if, for example, when you score a fight, it's usually 10-9, 10-9, 9-8, 9-8. It depends on how the scoring is done. But the disparity was ridiculous because I gave the first 2 rounds to Izzy. I gave the
Easily.
last 2 rounds to Jan. The third round was a toss-up and it could have gone either way. So at max, that fight was the 48-47.
I completely agree with that. I completely agree. But in fact, I'm going to be facing a lot of flack for this. But after John Jones has left his category, somehow the 205 division has become very, very exciting, where we are seeing finishes, we're seeing
It
action.
has.
And in fact, this was a 5-round fight that went to the decision and it was not boring.
It was not boring at all. Because the thing is, with John Jones, the trouble is he will take 2 rounds to figure you out. And once he starts figuring you out, then it's just a slow, methodic destruction. He'll take your knees out. He'll take your legs out. He'll take you down. He'll wear you out. It's the problem with John Jones. After you fight John Jones, you need to take a year off. Literally. Because you're so tired. It's like even fighting Khabib. If you go 5 rounds with Khabib, holy shit. Dude, I want to sleep for a month after that. I want to sleep up for a month after watching the fight. Because you're just so tired. The amount of beating these people give you, they put on, they're not there to knock you out. See, like if somebody asked me a question, okay, so I shall play the same game with you. Would you rather wrestle 5 rounds with Khabib or get knocked out by Ngannou in 1 punch?
I would rather get knocked out by Ngannou in 1 punch because that's lesser pain for me.
Correct. No. See, with his 1 punch, I'll just wake up fresh later. I might have a little bit of a headache at maximum. With Khabib, I'll see it coming for at least a few minutes.
Right.
That horrible wrestling. I'll see it coming. Same thing with Jones. Jones would knock me out instantly. He'll make me suffer.
Yeah. Absolutely, yes. So that concludes what we had to speak for UFC.
No, that was
259.
that was just UFC 259. But in the world of boxing, we had Saul Canelo Alvarez taking on Avni Yildirim, who again, it's when you talk about, we keep talking about the GOATs. The show is called The Fighting GOAT. And I don't think I think right now in the boxing universe, Canelo Alvarez is absolutely the GOAT. The way with which, the ease with which he dispatched of Avni Yildirim in the 3rd round was just something to watch. Now, Somesh, tell me something. Now, a lot of fans and fighters around the world say, that was not the best fight to make in the first place. Do you agree with that?
Well, see, whilst I completely agree with that, Arjun, the boxing weight categories are very different from the MMA weight categories.
Correct.
So there are so many contenders in each weight categories, and one boxer can move 4 or 5 categories up or down pretty easily. So, in fact, if you look at the world of boxing right now, very unfortunately, I feel the sport is dying a slow death where people are just not getting into it. The promoters are just not promoting it enough. There's not enough action. There's not enough meat out there, and honestly, there are no contenders apart from the heavyweight category where we may have 2 or 3 contenders. The other weight categories do not really have stars in the making. So who do we fight? Who do the champions fight?
Yeah, and that's the thing. You're absolutely right. There is just a lack of contenders, is what you're saying. I mean, there are fighters who are coming up, but I think, I think, Dana White has been saying this for years that, the sport is evolving. MMA is an evolution of boxing. Not just boxing, it brought all the forms together. It brought karate, kickboxing, Muay Thai, Sambo, Jiu-Jitsu. All these forms were brought together to create MMA. And in totality, there will always be purist boxing fans, but I think more and more fans are moving towards MMA now. Because boxing
naturally so, because isn't the sport more exciting? Isn't it growing? The entire aura of the sport, and also it comes down to broadcasting rights. In fact, all the MMA organizations, so be it Bellator, be it M1, be it One Championship or the UFC, they come on Indian TV. Can you tell me which proper boxing promotion has a deal with Indian TV? Absolutely not. They don't have it, because way back in the 90s, it used to come on HBO. But that is because there used to be that 1 or 2 huge fights happening every year. honestly, at this point of time, we're seeing exhibition matches. There is Floyd Mayweather going to Japan and fighting some absolute novice out there just for an exhibition match. I'm honestly that for me is absolutely ridiculous. We will never see Stipe Miocic going in some part of Russia for an exhibition match. That's not happening.
I think didn't Sage Northcutt do that?
Well, I think he was called Sage Knockout.
मत उड़ा, वो मारेगा हमको. हाँ, तू जानता नहीं. I mean, we might be sitting 10,000 miles away from him, but still. No, but Sage did that. I think Todd Duffy tried to do that when he went over to K1 to face Overeem and instantly regretted it because come on, I mean, it was such a mismatch.
It's a bad choice.
It was a bad choice. So coming back to Canelo Alvarez, the fight was incredible. He knocked out his opponent in the third round. He made it look easy. Guys, you take a look at it. If you don't know where to watch it, you can watch it on DAZN. That's DAZN. That's where most of the boxing happens. And I think the last. That's how I want to come to you, Somesh. You said rightfully there are no places to watch boxing, and I think DAZN is the only place to watch it now because HBO doesn't show in India, nowhere else.
Absolutely, yes. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of round 1. We are moving on to round 2. Arjun, man, we have Mohammad Farhad with us coming.
Yes, I can't wait. Guys, don't go anywhere. Stay tuned for round 2 when we interview India's own rising star and prospect, Mohammad Farhad. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another great week on the IBM Podcast Network. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IBM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Would like to thank the sponsors on the network this week, CED. We really do appreciate your support. We have a new show on the network. It's called The Fighting Goat. And if you love fighting sports, tune in every Wednesday with hosts Arjun and Somesh. They also featured, by the way, on Cyrus Says this week, where the three fitness freaks bonded over their love for TV sports and sports in general. Tune in to This Round Is On Me, where Gauri celebrated her 25th anniversary with Kavita Rajwade, who is my co-founder at the IBM Podcast Network. They give us details about how this show was curated, and they talk about podcasts in general. On The Habit Coach, Ashton highlighted our addiction to screens, how we are glued to either a big laptop screen or a small mobile screen all day. He shared some tips on how to rectify this unhealthy lifestyle. On All Things Policy, Anirudh Kaniseti spoke to Pratik Vakre and Rohan Sheth about the new internet guidelines that were issued by the Government of India recently, and their impact on content creators and platforms. On the Filter Coffee podcast, Karthik invited Vivek Ram, who is a celebrated animation artist. They chatted about his stint with animation and starting his own studio called Vanar Sena, bringing to life stories from ancient India and his scriptures with animation as his vehicle. We had Dhanya Rajendran, the editor of the News Minute, on the Note with Maruk Inayat. It was a deep dive into the digital newsroom and the upkeep of truth in a fake news pandemic. And with that, let's get you back to your show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Fighting Goat. My name is Arjun Mystic Chipalkati. I'm with Somesh Superhuman Kamra, and we have a real surprise for you. Today, we are doing an interview with one of India's rising prospects, one of the best fighters that have come out from the subcontinent, who's fighting right now all across in the Middle East, in Bahrain. Joining us is Mohammad Farhad, one of the coolest fighters. And ladies, believe me, this guy is a good-looking man. Not only can he fight, he can also break hearts. So I'd like to introduce my guests, Somesh and Farhad. Somesh, my brother, how are you doing?
It is so good to be here. Round 1 was fantastic. Round 2, I cannot wait to talk to Farhad, the rising prospect from India. Farhad, what an honor to have you on the show with us.
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for having me in your show.
Of course,
Glad to be here.
Of course. You are actually, I'll tell you, when we were deciding, who we wanted to call, who we wanted to talk to, we decided that we must call the most good-looking fighter that we know. So we decided to call you.
Absolutely. Can we call him the most eligible bachelor from India?
Look, dude, I told you, no. He's told me backstage कि देख तू वीडियो पे है तो ठीक ठाक से सब बोल सामने मिलेगा ना तू देख तू क्या होगा. I don't want to do this. I've already gotten my ass kicked before.
So ladies and gentlemen, here we have with us one of the most dynamic fighters from the subcontinent, Mohammad Farhad, who's fighting in Brave Combat Federation 47 against Ulumi Karim. So Farhad, tell us more about the fight. What division it's in? How did this fight come into being? What do the matchmakers tell you? Etc. Etc. How did you prepare for it? Did you go abroad for the camp? Did you train in India? What was it like?
It all started back in 2019 when Brave took place in Pakistan, one of the event.
Right.
And I don't think so it took place in Pakistan that way. I'm sorry. Somewhere around where the Pakistani guy fought in that event. His name was Mahmoud Raza.
Okay.
Right.
After his win, he started calling out an Indian very aggressively.
Oh.
Okay.
So yeah. So after that, the Indian media caught him and tagged me in the post and all. Like, is Farhad going to take this fight? Is Farhad is going to accept this challenge, or anybody
Right.
else is going to accept this challenge, this call out from Pakistan?
Right.
So I was like, oh, are you serious? Like now, like even the Pakistani guys are there in Brave and fighting in Brave,
Right.
and they are calling out Indians. So we should have someone to accept the challenge, right?
See,
Right.
this is the amazing thing. This is the amazing thing that Farhad has immediately stepped forward and taken it upon himself. There are, a lot of fighters. Somesh, you and I have seen enough fighters around. We've seen international fighters, national fighters everywhere. And there are very few fighters who responded to a call out that way. So,
But you know what, Arjun? I just feel so bad for the opponent suddenly.
हाँ अरे वो तो गया अभी I mean उसका तो बात ही नहीं, because if you don't know who Mohammad Farhad is, you must Google him. You must Google him and see his fights.
No, you must
see
just
how
not
he
be a
moves.
fan of MMA, basically.
Acha, Farhad, now that, okay, we know your opponent, etc. And, we've seen your record. Long back, I think 6 years ago, you lost to Dhruv Chaudhary. Had happened. And then you've been basically on a winning streak. The only last loss you had was, I think, 3 or 4 fights ago. And now you've been on a last 2 fight winning streak. So what is your plan for your upcoming fight? What kind of fighter are you taking on? Is he a striker? Is he a grappler? What is your strategy basically going into this fight? Now, I know he called you, and I know it's going to be a little bit of an emotional atmosphere, but at the end of the day, it's a sport. So you still have to look at it strategically. So what is going to be your plan?
The first time actually I'm stepping into the cage with the mindset of fighting 3 rounds. I think that's the first time what I have planned to do is, but you can say that Mahmooj, when he called me out, I checked some profile of Indian fighters, and there were 2 fighters in Brave, Mahmooj and Ulumi Karim. So I called out both the names. Let it be Mahmooj Raza or Ulumi Karim, because Ulumi Karim was in my weight category in the bantamweight division. So I thought calling out his name also with that, because he was also signed fighter with, and I really liked his performance also. And he again responded me that I'm going to take this thing and let's do this and all. Then it became a people's favorite fight. And coming back to the question, like if I say I'm prepared for 3 rounds of fight this time, like mentally, that means I have done intense training. After the lockdown, I was off training, totally out of shape. Started training on September, then started doing my blind camp on January. And then I got a call out from Brave Combat Federation. Surprisingly, they gave me the opponent, which came out to be Pakistani. So all this, it happened.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Incredible.
So, Farhad, in fact, is this event, Asian Domination, is it about India versus Pakistan, or it's just called Asian Domination because all the fighters are from Asia?
I think it's the second thing what you said.
Okay.
If it has been India versus Pakistan, then it would have been all the fighters in the red corner from India and all the fighters from the past then, how it happened in SFL.
Yes, I remember this in Dubai. I think in 2014, it was one card where it was completely designed that way. It was India versus Pakistan in Dubai, and all the Indians were in the red corner. Correct, you're right.
Yeah.
But okay, that being said, now that you're looking forward to your fight, you're going to fight in a few days, your mental state, your preparation, what do you do to, a lot of fans always ask, okay, we all know fighters are some of the hardest working people in the world. The training is very grueling, it's very strenuous. I remember I went to a training camp for 2 days. I lost 5 kilos and came back. So it was horrible. I hated that life because it's very strenuous. It's very difficult. But that being said, आपका जो mental state है, how do you prepare yourself mentally for this fight? Stepping into the cage, you're going to be fighting somebody, you're international, in front of millions of people watching at home. especially आपके तो कंधों पे तो अभी now it's you have accepted a challenge from somebody. So how do you prepare
Stepping
mentally
in
for
the
this?
cage is different, and training for the fight is totally different, and training for the fight camp is totally different. So that's what I have done this time. I prepared myself for the fight camp first, then I started doing the fight camp and to get ready to step in the cage. So that was a very good question actually. Going in the fight camp, training for the fight is like going through hell. It's like that. So whenever I go down, like enough man, I cannot do this anymore. सीधा बॉक्सर मोहम्मद अली मुझे याद आते हैं.
अरे
उनका
वाह.
उनका एक कहावत मुझे याद आती है एक्चुअली. He
हाँ
used to
जी.
say कि I hated every minute of training, but suffer now and live the rest of your life as champion. तो जब वो
Beautiful. Beautiful.
इतने इतने बड़े फाइटर होके वो जब मेंटली डाउन हो सकते, ही वाज मेंटली सो स्ट्रांग, जब वो ट्रेनिंग के अंदर मेंटली डाउन हो सकते हैं तो मैं तो छोटा मोटा फाइटर हूँ. और उनकी ये कहावत को लेके मैं जो है अपने आप को, मेरे अंदर एक मोटिवेशन आ जाता है और फिर मैं उठता हूँ. बिकॉज आई हेट दिस ट्रेनिंग बट आई हैव टू बी प्रिपेयर्ड फॉर व्हाट आई हैव टेकन एज अ चैलेंज.
Farad, so please don't say that मैं छोटा मोटा fighter हूँ, because trust me, almost all Indian fighters are looking up to you for Brave CF 47, and they look up to you as an elder brother, as a mentor,
Absolutely.
someone who they want to be like in the next few years. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would not agree with that. Farad is one of the most hardworking guys that I know, one of the most down to earth fighters that I know. But coming back to what he said about weight category, Farad fights in the bantamweight division, which is the 135-pound category. He's going to be facing Karimi on 11th of March. And Farad, you mentioned something called blind camp in January. Can you tell us more about the blind camp? What exactly is the blind
Yeah,
camp?
what is a blind? I've never heard that term. What is the blind camp?
As in when I was started training on September, there was a Brave event which was about to take place in Russia.
Huh.
And
Right.
then I checked everything about the visa thing, the COVID situation and all. And it turned out to be that in Russia, it was, in some places, it was minus 45 to 50 degrees Celsius.
Wow.
And
Right.
we Indian are not capable of training. And like in a 1 month, my body won't adapt that. Even if I do the training camp over there,
Right.
my body won't adapt that atmosphere, that weather. And it will be like very much hard and injurious for me to fight. So what I did
True.
is I skipped that event, and then I started training without taking any fight, because this COVID situation, the event, the Brave event or any event, they might give a short notice time for the fighters that, oh, we are doing an event. All right, are you ready to fight? So I thought, let's start with the camp. So I named that camp as a blind camp.
Okay. Okay.
Very
Now I get.
interesting. Thank you so much, Farad.
I get that statement of a blind camp now, which actually leads me to my next question, Farad. Now, because of this, this pandemic has completely fucked it up for everybody, which has been really, really bad. You've seen the world, how it's adapted. Most sports went down. So the point is that I wanted to know seriously, how have you, when you say you've been blind training, you've been in a blind camp, how did you manage to find sparring partners? How did you manage to find training partners, especially with, when you're worried about the pandemic, you're worried about, the closeness and the safety protocols. I mean, I can barely walk from here to here wearing a mask, let alone do jiu-jitsu. So
Exactly. So first of all, when I started the camp, I started with my master Ashraf Ghansar. He is having a typical old school type of training, which I love, doing both kind of training, old school and new method. I used to train in mountains and all when I started, and in the gym also, old and new mixed. He gave me training. He built up my stamina, strength, agility, endurance, and all. And then after that, as you said, that I needed partners, training partners for that. So I found out that my old training partner, Chaitanya Gawali, he has opened a gym in Mumbai.
Acha.
Yeah. So, and his camp was active.
Oh, really?
As he was having all amateur guys training for the upcoming amateur fights event. So I was lucky at that time. And then I contacted him and he said, oh, I would be happy to help, brother, come in. And I was sure that if the camp is happening or that it would have been happening with all safety, because these guys also wanted to fight and all.
Of course.
Everybody would have taken their safety measures. I went in and I started my 2 weeks camp over there, which was a very great fine tuning in my and brushing in my skills again for the grappling thing. And then after that, like this camp, according to my master, was 2 weeks in Bombay and 1 week off. 1 week off I take and I do my own brushing up skills and all. So I prefer doing that coming to Bangalore instead of staying in Bombay and do this 1 week training with my guys in Bangalore. So Munir was my training partner.
Yes,
my
yes,
main
I saw
training
that.
partner
Abdul
in-
Munir has been training. God, I remember he's also a veteran of the sport.
Yeah, actually. So he was my main training partner in Bangalore, and Chaitanya Gawali was my main training partner in Mumbai. So striking and grappling, old school, new school. Like I've done a great camp for this fight. Like I was pre-ready.
That's very good. That's very good to hear. You
Oh,
know,
that's
it's very good to
amazing.
hear when a fighter says that they've had a great camp. You know, Sumesh, you know, a lot of fighters go into fights with a lot of injuries anyway. And, you know, your body is sore, etc. So it's rare to hear a fighter says that he's absolutely healthy and he's going in, you know, injury free and has had a good camp.
Let me just point out one very important thing. For actually two very important things that Farhad said in this conversation. One is the fact that for an international fight, the fighters can do a camp in India. Most fighters from India think they need to go to Thailand or they need to go to America to have a great fight camp. But ladies and gentlemen, that's not the truth. If you actually want to have a good fight camp for an international fight, you can do it from India itself. So Farhad, thank you so much for mentioning that. And second point, what Farhad rightly said is that before saying yes to any fight, it's very important to do some background work, So if Farhad would have said yes to the Russia fight, honestly, minus 45 is not easy. So when I was in Russia, I think about 6, 7, 8 years back, it was -8. And I felt, it was like -50 out there. It was that cold. But when I actually saw the temperature on my watch, it was just -8. It just goes to show us what a seasoned fighter is capable of. Farhad, coming to my next question, what do you think of your opponent Karimi and how is it that you're going to beat him?
I predict knockout.
Many people are predicting that actually, a knockout, which I also specialized in. Let's see how it goes. I want to enjoy every moment of this event actually.
Super.
And I know he's a technical fighter. He's not like, only who is talking and just an aggressive guy. He trains. He talks, he trains. He's well-rounded opponent for me this time, who specialized in striking and grappling together. And I'm the one who always practice in all aspects. As an MMA fighter, I've learned to do that. I've been doing like crazy wrestling, crazy jiu-jitsu, crazy striking. So I'm ready for all type of challenges. And actually, this fight, my plan is to make more pressure on him. That will be a lot of pressure in the fight. That's what I've trained for 3 rounds. I'm prepared for 3 rounds. And I don't care if it goes all 3 rounds. I'm ready for whatever is coming. I'm bringing hell in the cage. I can say that.
That's amazing.
It's such a positive mindset. Honestly, Farhad, I wish I was with you in person cornering you for this fight.
I wish I was that brave, in not only in your corner to just see what's going on, but I wish we were both, Sumesh and I, were commentating this fight, because I remember doing...
I would love that, man. I would have loved that if you guys would be there commentating. Seriously. I think you guys are the best in India. I think you guys, Brave could hire you guys for commentating.
Thank you so much. You're very sweet.
No, 1 sec. But if Farhad is fighting, we would say, Farhad, that bastard.
मार, kick him.
देसी लैंग्वेज में आ गए होते हैं.
देसी अबे बिल्कुल यार, मुझे 2 मिनट लगते हैं. आप जानते हो कि जब फाइट चालू हो जाता है, मेरा तो चिल्लम चिल्ली चालू, वही तो चालू हो जाता है मेरा. But you know what, I have to say this one thing. There's such a wave of good fighters coming out of India now. And there are some of the fighters that came from the yesteryear, like, fighting. Sumesh, in India, I think it all began in 2012. The boom of MMA hit India with the Super Fight League, and it attracted a lot of fighters. But I love how the sport is growing today.
Very true.
And guys like Mohammad Farhad, who have shown, they've gone from fighting in Body Power Expos to Super Fight Leagues to now an international organization that is giving a chance to represent India on a global scale.
One of the fastest growing promotions in the world, by the way, is Brave Combat Federation.
That's very true.
And honestly, what a fantastic promotion to fight for.
It is incredible. And I think Farhad has a great opportunity. He's going to go a long way because he's already a very talented fighter. And guys,
And he's young. So
if you're tuning in, you're listening to Mohammad Farhad, Somesh and I only exclusively on the IBM Podcast Network. And Farhad, now enough. I'm not going to talk to you about anymore about your fight camp. We know your camp has been great. We know you're going to finish the guy. Abhi bol tu. How many girls message you on Facebook, Instagram, saying, Farhad, I want to come train with you?
That's really not a right question to ask if my wife. To your surprise, I'm already a married man now. If my wife
Yeah.
see this,
तेरा शादी हो गया है?
no
course,
way, Farhad. Are you
Are-
serious?
Arey, 3 girls fainted outside just now. Just now. Just I can see from my window.
no, I think I already broke all these hearts. What you're saying? 2 years back,
Mm.
yes, 2 years back, I got married.
Congratulations.
And-
Congratulations.
An amazing life.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
thank you so
Very
much,
good.
That's amazing. In fact, Farhad, what does your wife and what do your in-laws think about you being a professional fighter and you being in this business? Because not too many people deal with that, you know. So when you're in the Western
Very true.
countries, you know, yes, there are a lot of fighters, a lot of promotions, amateur, professional. But in India, you know, when you first time, you know, like say for the first time you met, you know, your in-laws and your wife must have introduced you that, you know, this is Mohammad Farhad and he's a professional fighter. What did they think about it and how are they dealing with this positive mindset of yours?
Oh, they are very much supportive. Like my family, they stay in Dubai
Right.
for quite some time.
Right.
And when I go to Bombay, my in-laws are very much supportive for me, my wife and all. She prepares for me everything. Like I miss her a lot when I'm away from her. You know, she's a big
Right.
support for me. And when my in-laws is there, they are bigger support. My all diet plan and everything, whatever I need for the camp, everything is just set and ready. I just need to focus on my camp. That's it.
You
So
know,
they've been very supportive all the time.
Farhad, after looking at, you told us that your wife helps you with your diet and is a great support. Especially, I'm interested in the diet part. What does she feed you? Because you're always so fit. Obviously, you're a fighter. You have to be fit. But jo diet hai na, mujhe pass karo. Please tell your wife to share the recipe with me. So I will make it for myself because I don't have a wife.
For that recipe, actually, I only trained her. Like what
Acha.
all I need, what all you do. I took some time to.
What is your favorite
give
khana?
her-
But when you're not fighting, what is your favorite khana? Like, what do you want to eat? Like, Joe, raat ko jab 12 baje, you come back from a party or something and you want to eat something. like, for example, if I'm coming back from a party, I want Maggie at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
What do you eat?
Maggie is a good food sometimes. Normally, you can say I love eating barbecue and I love eating
Barbecue.
biryani. But I'm a big sweet tooth also with that. I love
Oh.
chocolates. I'm a big sweet tooth. So I actually from now I'm planning to change all that thing and be on a more fitter lifestyle. I don't
More
eat junk
fit
food.
lifestyle. खुद को देखा है? I just saw some Instagram post of you showing abs. It's because of people like that we people I feel horrible. अभी मैं 4 दिन के लिए खाऊंगा नहीं. I want a fitter lifestyle. Already fighter है, already abs है. और क्या चाहिए? मार ही
Yeah,
देना.
man.
You know, Arjun, but this is such a positive thing because, in fact, the last time I heard this kind of family support was when Connor spoke about it, and he spoke about how Dee Devlin and her family actually supported him throughout his journey. And look where he's reached. We never
It's
know.
true.
Maybe this is the next
Very
Conor
true.
McGregor in the making.
No, he's not. He's not going to be Conor McGregor, man. He's going to be better. He's already got the skills. He's got
Wow,
the
man.
right
Conor
attitude.
McGregor is already such a huge personality. I think if you're comparing me with guys like this, I think I appreciate it a lot. But no, I'm a very small fighter in front of Conor McGregor. I
No,
think he's
see,
a huge personality.
Farhad. See, I understand you. See, that's also another good thing. Is the beauty of this is he's humble. His humility is amazing. You're saying you're a small fighter, but look at where you are today. You're on a big stage fighting for an international promotion. That's incredible. You've come so far, and we would like to Somesh on behalf of
I think I'm
Somesh and
equally
I.
lucky. Yeah.
You're lucky, of course. But I'm saying on behalf of Somesh and I, we would absolutely love to say that we are absolutely proud of you. You have the support from all of us and all of the Indian MMA fans. And all we want to do is for you to be happy and to win. That's it.
I felt that, brother. I felt that. जब मेरा India versus Pakistan का fight आया, तो ऐसा लगा कि we are 1 billion one.
Absolutely, yes.
जितने भी लोग थे, सब मुझे support करने लग गए. from everywhere. Like I always had Munir to support me in my training thing and all. I always had for a long time. But as soon as they heard that I'm fighting international fight after this pandemic, wherever, which corner they have, they did all type of support. And
That's
I'm very much
amazing.
happy with every Indian who supported.
Very true. That is so awesome to hear. Now, getting to the last segment, Arjun, how is this fight going to end? Let us have our prediction. The crystal ball predictions are coming up right now.
The
So-
mystic nest is coming out now.
What do you think about Mohammad Farad versus Karimi? How is it going to end and in which round?
See, knowing how Farad fights, the way he moves, he's light on his feet, he's very quick, he throws up power for a bantamweight.
Right.
So I think I'm going to see this, even though Farad is humbly saying that he's ready to fight for 3 rounds, but I don't think this goes the distance. I think Farad knocks him out in the second round.
Oh, you know what? Surprisingly, for the first time, Mystic and me are on the same page. I think it is a round 2 TKO. And Mohammad Farad gets his hand raised. And when he comes back to India, there are going to be garlands and a lot of people waiting for him. So we cannot wait for this one.
But he never
Farad-
picks up my phone here. मैं कितने बार फोन किया फोन उठाता नहीं है वो उसका मैसेज भी किया फोन नहीं उठाता
See, he only answers people who basically have at least a flat tummy, you know. So that's why he answers me.
अरे कमीने
See,
You
you
want
do
to
have some kind of
make your tummy flat.
I'm telling you now only. I'm like, Farad, you come back to Bombay na bus. I'm coming to train with you. Finished.
for 2 days, huh?
Most welcome.
5
Most
किलो कम
welcome.
करके जाऊंगा मैं.
For 2 days.
They're going to be seeing you in like hogging biryani and having vodka.
Yeah, I'll be. Me and Farad will be outside having biryani, and Farad's wife will come and smack me, saying, "क्या कर रहे हो? Diet खराब हो जाएगा."
Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that was an awesome segment with
Amazing.
India's rising prospect, Mohammad Farad. Wish him through the IVM podcast. Tag Mohammad Farad, tag IVM podcast, tag Fighting Goat, Arjun Chipalkatti, and myself. And the message goes straight out to India's rising prospect, Mohammad Farad. Watch him fight in Brave 47 against Karimi.
Also, guys, one more thing is that you must tag Farad in his post. You must go and contact him out. All your wishes, all the support that you want to give him, reach out to him directly. Farad, can you please quickly share with us all your social media details so that all the fans know how to contact you?
Definitely, bro. Nowadays, I'm using Instagram more than Facebook. So it's my ID is Farhad MMA. You can definitely search and contact me through my profile. And if I have time, I'll definitely respond back. And in Facebook, there's my page, Mohammad Farhad, MMA fighter. You can contact me through that also.
Perfect.
In
Thank you
Twitter,
so
I am active with the same ID, Farhad MMA. So you can contact me even there.
Superb. Guys, okay, thank you so much. This has been an amazing interview. You were in conversation with me, Somesh, and the awesome, super talented representative of our wonderful country taking on a biggest opponent in an international scale, Brave 37, Mr. Mohammad Farad. Thank you for being with us. We wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Guys, stay tuned. We'll be back after a quick break when we go into the MMA face-off. Get ready for round 3 as we go into Chips versus Kamra. Let's find out who won last week and let's find out what's going to happen this week. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.
We live in an age of disruption, of immense change in every aspect of work, life, and business. But is the old way of doing things truly dead? And are we ever going to stop saying the new normal? Join me, Varun Dugirala, on Advertising is Dead every Tuesday as I talk to entrepreneurs, leaders, creators, and change makers from across business, media, marketing, and beyond to dig a little deeper into how we got here, what we're doing now, and where we're headed. You can catch all the episodes of Advertising is Dead on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcast from.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to round 3. And now this is going to get fun. We're going to do a quick fire round because, guys, we've really gone on for a long time with our podcast today. We've talked a lot. Segment 1 and segment 2 was so much fun. We spoke to Farhad. He's such a great guy. And he's just he's what embodies a mixed martial artist. But chalo, now let's move on. And let me please tell everybody the results from last week's MMA face-off between Team Chips and Team Kamra in.
Okay,
and,
signing out. I'm signing out.
No.
I'm signing out.
I wish we could tag our producer, Surohini Jain. So if Surohini can come in and tell us who won, that would be amazing. Is she around? Can she come in? I don't think, no, she's not coming in anytime now.
No, she is coming in. Thank you for rubbing the salt in my wounds.
I have won. Team Chips has won. So, guys, all the fans, thank you so much for voting for me. How many ever that did? You're going to get awesome t-shirts from me eventually once you leave your name and number and your address.
Once I don't do that, Arjun's going to stalk you.
But the fact of the matter is that all that doesn't matter. Team Chips won.
Well, okay. You know what? Let me not be a sore loser. Arjun Chipalkatti, congratulations for the beautiful victory via disqualification. But otherwise, that was an excellent victory. And yeah, congrats. And let's see how this goes in the coming week.
The coming week also has incredible fights. Can you imagine? We're finally seeing Leon Edwards come back. I think so much is happening at the Apex. Leon Edwards, who was slated to face Khamzat Chimaev. Sadly, yes. Khamzat has been still affected by the after effects of COVID-19. Guys, please, just to inform you, please stay safe out there. Do not take on, don't take any risks. Don't go out. Stay safe. Always wear a mask. And, just listen to the government. Listen to the law. If they're telling you to do something, do it. Don't think you're brave and be a smartass, because even the fittest, dangerous, toughest people in the world, you still can't beat COVID.
Well, I absolutely agree with Arjun. And I think we must take all precautions, listen to the government, and take care of ourselves and the people around us. Arjun, let us get on the fight card. It's Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad, who has stepped up and taken a short notice fight on a main event. When Khamzat Chimaev is out, Mr. Belal Muhammad has stepped in. That's fight number 1 that we'll be speaking out. Angela Hill is on this card, taking on Ashley Yoder, which is interesting. And Ryan Spann is on this card, taking on Cirkunov.
Misha Cirkunov. And let's not forget, bro, Ben Rothwell is coming back. The heavyweight Ben Rothwell has been fighting for another, I think 800 years or so now?
I think 834.
834 years. He comes from that same mold, who's from the old school heavyweight division. I think now that Junior Dos Santos and Alistair Overeem have been released by the UFC, I think he's one of the last few oldies in that division.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, he may be an oldie, but man, this guy is dangerous. So let us have these 3 or 4 fights. Ben Rothwell versus Philip Lins.
Now, I don't know. I see, the thing is that I'm not very well aware. There are a lot of new prospects coming into the division, but whenever that heavyweight division shows up, trust me, they can all knock you out. So we're going to talk about a couple of fights now, guys, before we go to the main events. So the main 2 fights that Somesh and I will be picking are Leon Edwards against Belal Muhammad, Ben Rothwell versus Philip Lins, and we will talk about Angela Hill versus Ashley Yoder. We're going to be picking these 3. We're going to be picking these 3. Okay, Somesh, come on. Time. Team Chips versus Team Kamra. What are your picks?
Okay, so Team Kamra will go for Ashley Yoder.
Ashley Yoder, why?
Well, I personally feel she's going to upset the ever so versatile Angela Hill. So I'm picking Ashley Yoder.
Okay, guys, please note this. Team Kamra has picked Ashley Yoder. Team Chips will take Angela Hill. She's a dynamic striker. She's got great movement. She's getting better and better and better ever since we saw her in The Ultimate Fighter.
Stop promoting her.
I'm not right. I like her. Plus, she's damn cute also. But anyway, no, Angela Hill. I think I've got this for Angela Hill. So I'm going to pick Angela Hill.
Awesome. So that is Angela Hill for Team Chips and Ashley Yoder for Team Kamra.
For Team Kamra. Okay, moving to the heavyweights now is Ben Rothwell versus Philip Lins. What do you got, Somesh?
So see, Arjun, I think Ben Rothwell is a revived fighter, even though he's a little late in his career. I think he has revived himself. He's moving much better. His boxing has become absolutely fantastic. I'm going to go with the veteran Ben Rothwell for this one.
I'm calling it Philip Lins' second round knockout.
Oh, wow. That is absolutely precise.
See, Ben Rothwell, as great as he is, he's one thing that I may not be counting for is his toughness. He's tough as nails. He's ridiculously difficult to knock out. But then again, it's also his age. Age is catching up, and these new heavyweights are so fast and ridiculously smooth. I think the sport is growing beyond him. And as long as I love Ben Rothwell, he's a real old school stud. But I think Lins takes it. So Team Kamra says Ben Rothwell. Team Chip says Philip Lins. And now quickly moving on to our main event. Who you got, Somesh?
Excellent question. I feel Bilal Muhammad has nothing to lose out here. He's going to be very aggressive. He's going to feel out Leon Edwards maybe a round and a half. I feel Leon Edwards is very, very well-rounded. He's got very crisp striking. And once he takes to the ground, it's going to be a beating for Bilal Muhammad. So I'm going to go with the man who stays on the card, Leon Edwards.
I agree with Somesh on this one. We are both picking Leon Edwards. Leon I think his time is now. He's waited in the wings for long enough. That fight with Khamzat Chimaev has dropped off twice this year. And I think he's pissed off. He's angry. He wants to make a point. And if he does that in emphatic fashion, he can't be denied a title shot. So I'm picking Leon Edwards as well. But
Awesome.
now let's choose how. I think Leon ends it in the second round.
So I cannot pick on that. I wouldn't want to go down that route, but I would say Leon Edwards takes it. So ladies and gentlemen, let's just rewind. It's going to be Leon Edwards for Team Chips and Team Kamra. It's going to be Ben Rothwell for Team Kamra and Philip Lins for Team Chips. It's going to be Ashley Yoder for Team Kamra and Angela Hill for Team Chips.
Absolutely, guys. So place your bets. Do not forget to find us and tag us on IBM at IBM Podcast on Instagram. And if you want to tag us individually, my handles are at Arjun_Chipalkatti on Instagram and at Mystic Chipal on Twitter.
You can tag me on Somesh.Kamra on Instagram and Somesh_Kamra on Twitter.
And guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to at IBM Podcasts. Also tune into IBM Podcasts for many more podcasts like these in every kind of sport. We're going to give a shout out to the awesome Cyrus Brocha, who's always a sport. And he was so cool to allow us to be on his show for the first time. It was such an amazing one. Guys, go back and watch those. Please check out our page on Spotify, on all your podcasting platforms at IBM Podcast. This has been an awesome time, Somesh. It's been a great interview with Mohammad Farhad. And guys, do not forget to follow Mohammad Farhad. He's representing India at Brave 47. So guys, please go out and wish him all the best of luck. We want him to win.
You can catch Brave 47 on Brave CF. It's happening on the 11th of March. And our very own Mohammad Farhad is taking on Pakistan's Karimi on that card. We have predicted a second round knockout. Let's see how this goes.
Okay, guys, don't forget to tune in to at IBM Podcast. Check us out, The Fighting Goat Episode 2. Let's catch us on Instagram, social media. We will all see you next week. Signing off is Mystic Chips and the Superhuman Kamra.
Thoda zyada ho gaya. Chalo, bye.
Bye.
If you love cricket, listen up. The Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast is here for you. Hosted by DJ, Varun, and me, Ashwin, we bring a fun, fresh fan's point of view to talking all things cricket. Sometimes it's just the three of us, sometimes we have guests, including current and former international cricketers. For new episodes every week, check out the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast on the IBM app, website, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Come learn and experience the ABCDs of being queer with me, Shunetro,
and me, Farhad,
on our show, Gay BCD.
The two of us take you through our stories and experiences of being gay men in the city of Mumbai and have candid
And sometimes downright scandalous
conversations about sexuality, gay culture, and everything in between.
Catch new episodes of Gay BCD every Tuesday on the IBM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get all your podcasts from.